Right, hi everyone. I am now doing my Terminators from issue 13, from issue 12 and 13, and painting them up pretty much following the instructions in issue 13. So, as you can see, I'm doing my Emperor's Sons chapter, which requires us, first of all, using a combination of the Barak Nar Burgundy, but also our Wraithbone here to actually get the split colour scheme. So, what I'll do, I've left one of these guys unpainted. Just to kind of show you how I've approached doing it. So, get my paint thinned out over here, and very simply, over a 3-layer undercoat. Not absolutely essential for this, I just find it works better when I'm doing it. You could just do a single layer undercoat. I wouldn't advise painting straight onto the model, but not everyone has a set of spray undercoats available, so I do appreciate not everyone can just do what I've done here. But the idea is very simple. Get yourself a nice undercoat going. Now, highly likely, I'm going to have to do 2 layers of this purple, because it's going to go on quite, even with an undercoat, it's going to be quite streaky on the first coat. I also personally use a wet palette just because I find it allows me to thin out the paint better, and it'll go into recesses so much easier. The problem with this is it takes ages to kind of put your first layers down, which is a bit of a pain. Of course, my decision to use a split scheme, which requires pretty much trying to get it perfectly straight down the middle, which isn't easy either for someone like myself with my shaky hands. It's always difficult getting into the kind of fine details on these, but I'm trying my best without messing things up. I'm trying to get the paint flowing just where I need it to go. We are getting there. Probably should have used a bigger paintbrush for this part, but sometimes I'm my own worst enemy and I don't think things through when I start them. that. Too thin even. Definitely too thin. And don't get me wrong, sometimes having a nice thin paint can flow into recesses, but too thin and it just doesn't give you any real coverage. Okay, so this guy is going to inevitably need a second coat just to kind of thicken the purple up. I'll just finish down this arm as quick as I can. I've really overthinned my paint then, haven't I? Don't know what I was thinking there. Problem is, once you get like that thinness by accident on your model, it's not great. But since I'm planning on a second coating anyway, I'm not overly worried. Okay. Right, so he will require a second coat easily, at least a second coat. And I'll head over to this one. The other, of course, side of the split is the bone colour here. Now, obviously, I've already done that one on. I'm going to show you next is kind of the key areas that we need to. So I've already applied the black on these ones, and if you're wondering where it goes on the bolters, it's there. You can see this needs a second layer of black. But what I am going to do is then move on to our lovely lead belcher. Get my synthetic brush for this. I'm just always inclined to use synthetic brushes with metallics. It's just the way I am. Right. And again, it's just kind of following the guide and hitting the key areas. Probably should have used my bigger brush for this part because it's quite a wide part of the model, but there's also some little details I've got to get into as well. Oops, got on the silver there. Got on the bone by accident, not paying attention. Unfortunately, my hand is still shaky from a bit of a health flare up the other day, so I'm still not exactly back to myself again. Not that I was ever the most stable painter in the world, but I'm taking it to a whole other level of shaky today. I'll be able to potentially see that I've got a bit of a perceptible shake in my hand. Okay, so it's areas like that with the silver, just pick out any core and obvious places. Now, on the instructions as well, it does suggest this little bit here also gets silvered up if you're doing the ultramarines, so I'll do that as well. And then I think the other thing you've got to kind of do is things like this sword. Again, you want the main blade itself to be done in lead belcher. Okay, and things like the guns, and there's lots of other little areas to do on these. I don't want to kind of show every single little bit because that's quite a long process, unfortunately, and I'm sure we don't all need to see me do the exact same thing multiple times. So I'll just show kind of core areas that you should be getting in this lead belcher. So the actual guns here, these need doing. Basically wherever the black isn't, that's where the silver goes. Also in the back of this, let's be careful doing this because it's so easy to accidentally get your paint on the rest of the model. And then the other problem is you've got to somehow try and get into those little recesses as well. If you're having trouble getting into those recesses, I'd advise watering your paint down a bit and it'll flow in. Okay, so make sure you do that basically with the lead belcher across the whole miniature. Top of that, we have certain areas that we want to pick out in our retributor. So I'll just show some of the key areas. So like with our sword here, it's difficult getting into these little angled bits, isn't it? Hope I'm pointing that at the camera well enough for you to see what I'm doing, but there we go. Okay. Again, just take your time when you're getting behind things, don't rush it. And on Terminators, it's quite common to pick out things like these skulls in gold. So any little skulls that you see, get them painted up in gold as well. Then take your time, go slow. Things like emblems on guns. Can just get picked out as well. And just basically, get them all basically where it feels right to put the gold colours. Things like this here, this kind of cross, iron cross. think as well, at the bottom of this iron cross is probably picked out in gold. Right, and that's your kind of your core gold areas. Again, you know, get that all sorted across all the different ones of them. Okay, right. We also may find ourselves needing our Abaddon Black. Now I'll just show you, because I've gone over this stone bolter once before, but you can see it's very streaky. I'm just going to go over it again, just to get it nice and thick. Well, not thick, but properly covered. Okay, so any basic places like that gets kind of covered and done in the black. Okay, now I don't really have a need for the blue on these guys, but if you have if you see any Tyranid, you know, growths on a miniature, you might want to do them. If they've got, say, you know, particular kind of sometimes you might get decorations like this. Some of them might look good in blue if they're a particular type of seal or something. But for now, the last one that I really need to start hitting, I think. Let me just double check I've not kind of missed any particular colour here. It's always very difficult for me sometimes to, because I'm very absent-minded and I will just forget to do things. Right. Okay, so this Corax White is going to be used to pick out the Crux Terminators, so these things. Now, you could potentially do these in gold if you really want them to stand out, but I'm just going to stick to this. So that one there, and then of course the one on the shoulder. No. And here, oh. Just get these last little bits done, and then I am very much sorted with this. Okay, so that's basically the core stuff where we're up to. I'm not going to spend ages showing you how to put every single little bit on here. Otherwise, this video will go on for well over an hour just to kind of basically show pretty much the same thing multiple times. But effectively, just make sure you go through, you know, pick out all the key areas. I do need to do another layer of Wraithbone on this guy, because as I've been going along I can see it's just far too streaky for my liking, to be quite blunt about it. So that's obviously going to be basically just to complete the coverage, because it looks very streaky, that Wraithbone, to me, which I'm not really happy about. I've always found that with Wraithbone, though, it can be a very streaky paint, but as a result of that, I really tend to thin it out. I'd rather do like multiple layers of the Wraithbone and really get it right than rush myself with thick layers all at once. So, you know, getting these core areas done. And the end result of this will hopefully quite soon be a very nice, clean colour scheme. Just got to really pick out them. Yeah, imminent. I can see there, it's just not right. Terrible at overwatering my paint some days, you know, when I'm not really paying attention, or my hands are shaking too much, so I end up getting my paints wrong as a result of it. Okay, so that's it really. That is how we make sure that we're getting our Terminators and the core colours all nicely down. Of course, I've still got quite a bit of work to do. I've got a lot of second coating to do, but that is our kind of core things. Now, oddly enough, I can't seem to find where I've put the teleport home. I must have put it on a shelf and knocked it down behind somewhere, so I'm kind of wondering where that is now. Right, but as you can see, we use quite a wide range of paints now, and on top of that, we're about to get even wider range of paints coming along to add to this mix. But there we go. So that's a kind of a quick of where I'm up to on the Emperor's Sons Terminators. I'll carry on painting these, but there is no other way to put it. I don't think everyone wants to watch a 4-hour video of me very slowly painting these, but that's the core colours that you need to get down. Just, you know, kind of follow the guides and you will get the rest done, and hopefully soon I will have all these done as well. So thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.